Hello everybody, this is Goofsome Fox coming at you with my final video as part of my Pale Rider series, where over the last few weeks I had been making videos using all of the different Pale Riders that are currently in GBO2 and just kind of talking about them. It was really just a fun little thing that I wanted to do, just try out all those different riders and see how they performed, and to kind of conclude the series, give it like a proper finale, I wanted to make some sort of ranking video for them, so that's what I have here today. There are 10 Pale Rider variants in GBO2 that we are going to go through. Just going to go from what I think is like the worst to the best, and needless to say, this is going to be my personal opinion, just kind of based off the experiences I had using each suit, so this isn't like a definitive list or anything. This really is just made to be more like a fun little thing, just kind of summarizing what I said in each of those videos. If you want to see the actual videos that I made on each suit, I will have them linked down in the description in the order that they released. I will also have in the corner, there'll be a tab depending on what rider I'm talking about. There'll be a link to that specific video. And in my community tab as well, I did also put the list of the videos in release order in there as well. So I made sure to kind of put it everywhere just so if you want to go back and watch those videos and see the full thoughts on those suits, they are there. I'm more or less just going to summarize everything in this video, and once again, this is personal opinion, nothing too serious, so yeah, without further ado, let's go to our first Pale Rider. Starting off with number 10 here, we're going to have the Pale Rider D2. Ironically, this was the suit that really kicked off this series to begin with when I made my video, just talking about how the suit really felt like it was forgotten. Nobody really talked about or played the D2 as far as I had seen, so I was very curious to kind of see how the suit would perform, and again, like this suit here is really what kind of kicked off this series as a whole, and unfortunately it's going to be the one kicking off our list here at the bottom at number 10. I just really feel like the Pale Rider D2 is a suit that is just kind of struggling in a lot of departments. The suit is a 450 to 500 cost support, and you do have a pretty decent kit of weapons here. You do have the Hyper Beam Rifle as your main range weapon, which on a support I feel like could be a really good weapon to have. You have a basic Beam Saber as your melee, and one of the perks with the D2 is that you do get 2 melee swings, and then you have your Vulcans, you have the Shikina Gatling Gun, you have the Missile Launcher and the Mega Beam, and then you have the Slide Shield. And to go with the Shikina here, you do have the Composite Weapon System Optimization skill, where if you're switching between your Shikina weapons, it will reduce the switch time by 80%. So there are some really neat concepts going on here with the D2, but again, I do think they just kind of fall flat in the long term because really it's just like I struggled to really get a good match with this. The one match that I got with it was the one that didn't have a raid on the enemy team, and I think I mentioned it in my main video too, that when the enemy team did have a raid, it just became a lot harder to play the suit. So yeah, D2, it does have some cool things going for it, which is going to be a pattern that we see with a lot of these lower, like, tier, the lower ranked Pale Riders here, but for the D2, unfortunately, I just have to give it the bottom spot here. Next up at number 9, we're going to have the Red Rider, which is a 400 to 550 cost raid unit. And the Red Rider, I'm putting it here at number 9, kind of giving it this low spot for a similar case to the D2, in that they are just kind of better suits to play in terms of like raids at these costs. And the Red Rider, it was one that used to be really popular when it released. It was a very common raid to stumble upon, but nowadays I really don't see this suit all too often, and kind of playing it myself, it is a fun suit, but I can really see why it has fallen behind. You don't have a instant stun by any means. Your main range weapon is going to be the Heat Sword 100mm machine gun, which I did mention in my video that by older machine gun standards, I do think this is a decent machine gun overall. It stuns most suits in 10 rounds, and you have 60 rounds and a pretty decent fire rate, so I do think the machine gun itself is a pretty good weapon. And you do have three melee weapons here. You do have a standard beam saber, you have the Zweihander, and then you have the 100mm machine gun heat saber. So, yeah, three different melee weapons here, and all of these are compatible with the melee combo controller level 2, which gives you 3 melee attacks on each of those weapons. And on top of that, you do have a heavy attack, making this the only rider to have a heavy attack. That's going to be, again, for the Zweihander here, the Buster Sword. And that also applies to the Shield Weapon Buffer level 2, and then you also have the Aerus ability boost. So, yeah, you do have some neat things here with the Red Rider, but again, just kind of putting it here on the lower end because I feel like the suit has really fallen behind in terms of the current meta, but it is still a fun suit overall to play, just not one I'm really comfortable ranking higher than number 9. Next at number 8, we're going to have the Pale Rider Ground Heavy Arms. This suit is a general type, and it goes from 400 to 550, and this suit is really only down here for personal reasons. I do not like playing the Ground Heavy Arms. That's something I voiced really strongly in the video I made about it. And on top of that, I do think the suit is lacking in some aspects. I definitely think it's one of those suits that could really benefit from an adjustment to make it better. But yeah, really, again, this is more of a personal reason why it's just so low here. And the main reason I put it above the Red Rider is that I do think the Ground Heavy Arms, it does have a bit more potential going on with it, mainly for the weapons it has. You do have the expandable 180mm cannon, which is capable of causing a heavy stagger, and I think that's really good for this suit. You also have the leg missile pods, which I also really liked on this suit. You do have, for your primaries, you can either have the rocket launcher, the ground-type beam rifle, or the bullpup machine gun. So, yeah, you do have some options there. But yeah, really, I just feel like this is a suit that, again, it's just really one of those suits that really feels lacking, and I'm more or less just putting it above the Red Rider just off a very bare margin here, just for having a bit more utility with it. You do get the Hades ability boost, you have like your dodge roll, melee combo controller, shield tackle, but yeah, aside from that, again, I just really don't like playing the suit. Maybe if they buffed it and made it better, it would feel just a lot better to play. One of the things I voiced strongly, which I will bring this up again, is the arm beam gun. The arm beam gun here just is a very, very lackluster weapon. I hope they buff this sometime in the future, but yeah, for the Pale Rider Ground Heavy Arms here, again, just really giving it the number 8 spot, just out of personally not really enjoying it that much when I played it, but giving it number 8 because I do see there is some kind of like potential here. Coming up at number 7, we are going to have the Pale Rider VG, and initially I was kind of torn if I wanted to give this the 7th spot or not, because I did describe this as being one of the weaker Pale Rider variants, but I do have some reasons for why I am putting it at number 7. The first thing about it is that it just feels like one of the more unique Pale Riders in the game, using a lot of Xeon weaponry, and the other reason is that I feel like the suit has some of the most potential to be good compared to the riders I previously covered, and a lot of that does play into the uniqueness of the suit. As you can see, you have a lot of Xeon-inspired weaponry here, with really the one exception being the head-mounted Vulcans. For your main primary, you can either use the beam machine gun used by the Gelgu Jaeger, which I have voiced before just being one of my favorite weapons, and also just a beam rifle that I think is really good overall. You also have the giant bazooka and the MMP-80 machine gun with grenade launcher. And yeah, like, I think the range weapons on this suit are good, compared to, like, the Pale Rider ground heavy arms, I think this suit just kind of has better versions of all of its, like, at least, like, main weapons. I think the VG has just better primaries. The arm beam gun on this suit is much better compared to the ground heavy arms, and I can say the same thing about the leg missile pods too. I prefer the leg missile pods on this suit. I think they are better, and I think if the devs did an adjustment where they focused on the range aspects of the suit, I think that would actually make it a really strong contender to be at least like a viable pick. My main suggestion in my original video was to give it the Pursuit Range Aux program to kind of play into the range weapons, and if not, maybe give some more damage for the beam Naginatas here. The beam Naginatas are a big reason why I am putting this suit so low, because the melee pattern on these is just very hard to hit, and if you can land the full combo, you can get some alright damage, but it just doesn't really feel like that much worth it. So that's why, again, I really suggest like maybe an adjustment towards the range weapons here. But yeah, really just, again, just one of the weaker Pale Riders that can really use an adjustment. I think the suit just has really good potential if they were to give it something, but as it is now, I'm kind of just putting it over the ground heavy arms, because I think in terms of its weapons that are compared to that suit, I think the VG here just has better weapons overall, and that's really what's kind of helping the suit pull ahead right now. Number 6 is where things really start to look up for the ranking video here, because next up we are going to have the Black Rider, which is a 450 to 600 cost raid. I do not have the level 3 or 4 versions of the suit, but it does go up to 600, and yeah, it is a raid unit. And the Black Rider, I wanted to put this suit at number 6 because I really didn't have any strong complaints when I played it. Most of what I had to say about this suit really felt more like nitpicks than like anything really major against the suit. I think for the most part it is a reliable kind of like stealth raid, and it is a very unique and fun concept having the active camo ability. Unfortunately, in my video where I use it, I do kind of misuse the active camo a lot. Well, I'll kind of use it, but then immediately try to attack somebody, just kind of like using it too early. So, yeah, that was kind of a funny thing there. But really looking at the kit here, you do have the rail cannon as well as the assault armor shotgun. You have a pair of heat daggers. You have the stun anchor for a heavy stagger. You do have a rapid-firing armed grenade launcher. Again, you have that active camo. You have a beam diffusion missile, which temporarily boosts your beam defense. And you have a flash grenade. And looking at the skills here, too, you have maneuver armor, you have melee combo controller level 2. You do get emergency evasion system with this suit, as well as jamming. And then, you have that optical camo system. And then you have the Themis ability boost, so that's kind of like this suit's version of Hades. And again, I really don't have any strong complaints with the suit overall. Really, the only reason I'm putting the Black Rider kind of like in the middle here at number 6 is simply because I'm not the best with stealth raids. But again, like I got some pretty good matches using the Black Rider in the past, so just kind of a fun suit overall, fun stealth suit. Again, really unique concept with the cloaking ability. So, yeah, really I think the Black Rider here is kind of deserving of the middle spot. Coming in at number 5 is going to be the Pale Rider Space type, which isn't exclusive to space anymore. The main reason I wanted to make a video on this suit in the series is because it is one of these spacesuits that got transferred to ground, and I didn't get a chance to talk about it when that initially happened, so doing this series gave me the chance to talk about this suit on ground matches. But Pale Rider Space type, it is a general type mobile suit. It does go up to 550 at level 4, and yeah, Pale Rider Space type here, I quite like this suit. You, instead of having the heavy cannon, you do get a giant Gatling cannon. Unfortunately, you still have the same arm beam gun that the Pale Rider Ground Heavy Arms has. As I mentioned, I really want the arm beam gun for this and the Ground Heavy Arms to get an adjustment. I assume if they were to buff them in some way, they would probably get the same adjustment on both suits. But the reason I'm putting the Pale Rider Space type so far up at number 5, especially compared to the Ground Heavy Arms, why I think this suit is better, is I just think the suit has better weapons overall with the giant Gatling cannon. If you can get a good position to place yourself, you can really make some decent use of the Gatling cannon. When I made my video, I did it on Tropical Desert, which is a very open map, so really gave me plenty of opportunities to make full use of the Gatling cannon, and just, being honest, having a giant Gatling weapon is just a whole lot of fun in GBO2. Another thing, too, is I think the primaries that this suit has is a whole lot better. The only primary you share with the Ground Heavy Arms is going to be the Bullpup machine gun, but aside from that, you get the Hyper Bazooka, which is a pretty reliable bazooka overall, and you do get the Hyper Beam Rifle, which is just a really nice beam rifle. It does have a longer focus time, but the damage and range, I think, definitely make it worth it. And especially on the Pale Rider Space type here, where again, you do have that Gatling and, just having a longer range beam rifle, I do think it does play a lot into benefiting the suit. And look at the skills here, you do have Emergency Evasion System and Melee Combo Controller, you get the Hades Ability Boost. You don't get the Shield Tackle because you have the Slide Shield instead of the Spike Shield, but again, really, I don't think it's too much of an issue here for the Space type. I just kind of think this suit is an overall reliable, Gatling suit. And especially for being a general, too, you can do some really good damage to raid suits. So, yeah, really like it for the Gatling. This is the main reason I like the suit and why I'm ranking it so high here. And again, I just think it's a pretty reliable suit, even for being transferred to ground. I think it was one of the better suits compared to the 5 that got switched from space only to being usable on ground. I think this one was one of the better ones next to the GPO1 FP, so yeah, Pale Rider Space type, think it's pretty good. Next up at number 4, we have the Pale Rider Dullahan, and this is probably the hardest suit to kind of come up with a ranking for. I was really juggling between this or the Pale Rider Space type, depending on what I wanted at number 4 and 5, but in the end, I did decide to put the Dullahan at number 4 because I feel like compared to the Space type, I have gotten more matches, more good matches in the Dullahan. Really, granted, I've been playing the Dullahan much longer than I've been playing the Space type, so this suit I just have more experience with it, and a lot of it's really good experience too, but the Pale Rider Dullahan, it is a raid type unit that goes up from 400 to 550, and Dullahan here, the only reason I really am putting it so low is because I want them to reverse the nerf that they did on this suit a while ago. I understand why it was nerfed all that time ago, because the Dullahan was the go-to raid for 400. Everybody was using it, it was the primary pick, so I do understand the reasoning for why it was nerfed, but I do think in the current GBO2 meta, I think this suit having its nerf reversed would really help it and just kind of make it a bit more of a viable option, which even as it is now, I do think the suit is viable for the most part. You do get some nice primary weapons. You get the Hyper Beam Rifle, the Hyper Bazooka, and the Bullpup Machine Gun. Basically, you get the same primaries that the Pale Rider Space type have. And with the Hyper Beam Rifle specifically, I think this is a really good weapon to have on this suit because the Hyper Beam Rifle is a very hard-hitting and long-reaching beam weapon. So it's really good if you want to try and take supports out at a distance. You also have the Assault Armor Heat Lance, and the Heat Lance I think is really good. Again, you have a lot of range with this because it is a longer, larger melee weapon, and I think the melee pattern on it is also really nice, but um, I really think the range weapons here, this is really where the Dual shines. The Heat Lance is great, but the Hyper Beam Rifle and the G Shield Hidden Gatling, I think the Gatlings on this suit are really nice, because again, they give you a lot of range, and they are connected to the Guardian Shield, which gives you a lot of defense. So I think both of these aspects here really just play into the Dual being a really nice range raid. And, look at the skills here. You do have melee combo control level 2, maneuver armor level 2, force injector, anti-blast, assault booster, high performance balancer. You get some nice raid skills with the suit, and again, it really plays more into the range aspect here while also having some really nice melee with the Heat Lance. It's just like you can't follow up with it because the Heat Lance has a very long cooldown time, but again, I think the range weapons do make up for it. It's just, as I said, I think in the current GBO2 meta, the suit's nerfs really should be reversed. Just with the 400 raids that are running around nowadays, and this goes for the other costs as well, like 450, there's just like some really good suits at like all these costs, and there's also some really good counters to the Dual that, again, really I just feel like reversing the nerf I think would just be kind of helpful. But aside from that, I think the Dual in its current state is still a viable raid pick. Again, would just like to see it get that nerf reversed. Moving up to the top 3 on the list now, and for number 3, that spot is going to be held by the Pale Rider Cavalry. This is a general unit that goes from 350 to 500, and the Pale Rider Cavalry here kind of surprised me because the Cavalry, I feel like the suit has always been a go-to like low cost pick in the earlier days of GBO2, and I played it a couple times back then, but not too often. But kind of picking it up for the series here, I could see why the suit was so popular, because even with the suits that are currently out, mainly kind of looking at the Thunderbolt guys here, even with those suits running around, I still think the Pale Rider Cavalry is a reliable general suit for the most part. You get a pretty decent array of weapons here. You do have the Shikina Gatling gun, you have the Beam Javelin as your main melee weapon, you have Vulcans, you have the Missile Launcher and the Mega Beam, and you have your shield as well. And for the skills, you have your Dodge Roll, High Performance Balancer, Melee Combo Controller, High Performance Radar, you have the Hades E ability boost, and you have High Spec Ambac. So you do get Hades, which is nice to have at 350. I don't think any of the suit at this cost really has a touchpad skill apart from the Blue Destiny Unit 1, so you do have that going for it, but yeah, really mainly looking at it at 350. I think at 400 and 500 the suit would probably start lagging behind, but at least looking at it from the 300 perspective, I do think, again, it's a pretty reliable general, even with the current suits that are running around. So that's why I'm giving it the number 3 spot here. Just really, I think it's reliable. It's in a pretty good spot overall. So, yeah, pretty good. Moving up to number 2, we're going to have the Toad's Ritter, which is a 650 to 750 cost general unit. And Toad's Ritter, really, I think the suit is just really good. Something I've brought up on the channel multiple times when it relates to at least 650 generals, kind of looking at the suit at its native cost. I really think a lot of the generals that come at 650 in GBO2, like that are native to that cost, even a lot of the older ones, I still think they're like pretty good, reliable suits for the most part. And the Toad's Ritter here, I really don't think is an exception to that. I still think it is a reliable like unit, and even at 700 I've also had some good matches with it in the past, but playing it at 650, yeah, the suit just feels really good, really reliable. You get some really nice weapons with it, kind of looking at the Hyper Knuckle Buster. You have a pair of Beam Sabers, you have the Chess Machine Vulcans, you have the Beam Guns, You have the Incom Beam Cannon times 4, as well as the Incom Tri-Blade, and these can be used at the same time, which is really nice. You do have the internal Mega Particle Cannon shield, and then you have the shield itself for defense. And then, with the skills here, you do have your dodge roll, you have your melee combo controller, you have maneuver armor, you have your Hades at level 2, and you have flight control program level 2 as well. So, really just overall a lot of nice skills and weapons for the Toads Ritter, which, again, I think at 650 and even in some cases at 700 really make it a reliable suit pick for the most part. Now, the Toads Ritter, it is kind of cheating here on the list because it really doesn't have to compete with the other Pale Riders. No other Pale Rider goes up to 650 currently, so really, in terms of cost, the Toads is kind of just hogging this spot all to itself. But, again, for its performance at its cost, I still think it is, again, a reliable suit for the most part. And, really, I think compared to a lot of the other riders, it is in a good state. Again, I think that it just kind of goes in play with the suit being at a higher cost. It has a whole different ball field that it is playing in, but again, Toads Ritter, I think this is a really good suit, really reliable for its cost, and deserving of the number 2 spot. And finally, at the number 1 spot, we are going to have the White Rider, and yeah, if you've been on my channel before, I don't think this being a number 1 will be much of a surprise, but I put it up at number 1 for a lot of good reasons, just really being that the White Rider is, at least in my opinion, just one of the best supports that is currently in GBO2. The suit is native to 450 and goes up to 600, but like the Black Rider, I unfortunately do not have the level 3 or 4 versions of this suit, but that aside, you just get some really nice things with the White Rider, just kind of starting off with the weapons here. You do have the prototype Shikina Gatling gun, which kind of has a bit of a slower fire rate compared to most Gatlings, but you do get some really good damage with it, and it is also a really accurate Gatling that I've seemed to notice, and yeah, really just like the way that this Gatling feels. It's one of the best feeling Gatlings that I've used in this game. You also have the Heat Rapier, which has a really nice poking down swing, and on top of having 2 melee swings, you can go straight into your melee with this weapon. You have the prototype Shikina Mega Beam, which is, your meme beam weapon, and yeah, this is a weapon that they have buffed to make really good, especially when it comes to the focus firing and like the overheat. Especially that overheat, I think they decreased it to be even lower than it was in the past, and in terms of the focus firing, if you pair that with the Zeus ability boost, you can get a shorter charge time with it, and yeah, this weapon can just do a lot of damage, again, especially to generals where you have type advantage, but really that can be true for anything that has like lower beam defense. Then you have the armed grenade launcher, which isn't a rapid-fire one like the Black Rider. This one is a single-fire grenade launcher that is able to do an instant stun. So, yeah, you have an instant stun weapon, you have a Gatling, you have your meme beam, you have a good melee weapon, and even though you don't have a lot of weapons here, like you have 4 weapons to work with, all of these weapons work really well with the suit and its playstyle. Like, everything really just comes together with the White Rider, and kind of look at the skills here, you do have that high performance balancer and melee combo controller, you have high performance fader level 2, precision shelling, special back add-on buffer level 2 for the cape, you have the observational data link, and then you have again that Zeus ability boost, which on top of reducing the charge time for the Shikina, it also increases your range damage. So yeah, Zeus pairs really well with the White Rider and its game plan, and again, I just think this suit is really good, really just deserving of the number 1 spot here for the Pale Rider ranking here. I really can't think of like any other suit, at least like with the Pale Riders, that I would put above it. Like the Toads Ritter would be kind of close, but really at the end, again, I just think the White Rider, with where it is now and how they've like adjusted the suit, it's gotten some good adjustments to really bring it up to speed. Again, I just can't think of any other like rider that I would put above the White Rider. So, yeah, definitely think the White Rider here is more than deserving of the number one spot here. And that's going to be the end of the ranking there. 10 Pale Riders played, and 10 of them ranked into one list. And as I mentioned at the beginning, this is not a definitive list or anything. This is solely based off my opinion. So, yeah, this isn't like the end of all like list here. Especially since, you know, in GBO2 they do adjust mobile suits. We recently had those 30 unit adjustments, which really benefited a lot of mobile suits. So, if they were to really incorporate any of the Pale Riders that I mentioned in this list, that could definitely change their ranking at some time in the future. But from what I have currently and from what I have gotten just kind of playing the suits as part of the series, yeah, this is where I would currently rank them myself. And yeah, really just doing the series was a lot of fun overall. I kind of wanted to do something similar with the Gelgooks in GBO2, but there are way more Gelgooks than there are Pale Riders, so Pale Riders here, a lot easier to talk about, but yeah, that's really going to be everything I have for this video. As I mentioned, I wanted this to be a more solid conclusion and just kind of an overall summary of what I mentioned in a lot of my videos I made. So if you want the full thoughts on the Pale Riders I covered here today, I would definitely recommend checking out my previous videos on them. Again, I am going to have those linked down below in order of their release date, so if you want to watch the full series in order, it is going to be down there. But yeah, as of now, this is where I would rank these suits, and you know, maybe I'll try something again in the future with another line of mobile suits. It's really hard to tell, but yeah, again, I just wanted to do this as a fun little side project, just something a bit different from what I usually do on the channel, kind of experiment a little, and again, overall, I think it was just a lot of fun to try out all these different suits, because some of these suits I really either haven't used at all or that often, so it was just really fun to get these out and just kind of talk about them. And I'm going to be very interested to hear in the comments down below maybe what your personal ranking for the Pale Riders are. Would your list be similar to mine, or would you kind of switch things up a little? We're going to be very curious to hear that in the comments down below. But for now, that's really going to be all I have for this ranking video here. Remember to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and with that, I will see you all in the next one. Later.